Hi, this is Hamsika, and welcome to Stories with Swansea Presents The Real Deal, where we discuss and dissect everyday situations that influence and shape our lives. Whether it's the unspoken impacts of generational trauma, challenging the expectations of society, or exploring practical ways to bring more peace, balance, and joy into our daily existence. We share stories and lived experiences that are raw, heartfelt, and will leave you with questions. So, if you're looking for a podcast that feels like chatting with a friend about the real, relatable parts of life, you have come to the right place. Let's cut through the noise and get straight to the matter with no filters and sugarcoating. Because this isn't a fictional deal, it is the real deal. Hello. Welcome everyone to episode 1 of the Real Deal podcast. I am so excited to kickstart this one. Before I kickstart, let me tell you why I'm so excited about this and why I actually wanted to start this podcast, right? So when I wrote my first blog post about my mental health journey, the amount of support that I received was actually very overwhelming. I didn't expect it even one bit. I thought a few people would read, probably message, text, or give me a call, or like maybe not react in the way that the actual reaction happened. So when the blog post actually went live, I remember so many people with whom I have no contact in all these years contacting me and asking me how I am, and like feeling sorry for what I went through, and telling me that they are in support of me and they want to see me grow in life and they wished me luck. And apart from that, there were a lot of people who started opening up to me thinking that it's a safe place, right? Like when they read the whole thing, for them it was more like, okay, I connect with this bit, I went through the same thing, so I can probably speak to her. I can feel like I have a safe space with her. Probably she will understand me if I open up to her. And they started sharing things with me, and I was just too touched and too I don't know how to say, like I was filled with gratitude that so many things happened. So many people called me, messaged me. I even caught up with a few people for coffee, and we were discussing things. And it was a very heart touching thing for me. In the last 2 years, it has taken a lot for me to actually step out of my comfort zone, find my voice, and actually start standing up for myself, which I previously was not doing it. And in this journey, I kind of realized there are a lot of people who are relatable to what I have gone through. They find me relatable, they find my story relatable. That only means they're not opening up about their own struggles, about their own journeys, because of the stigma around it, the stigma around mental health that we have in our society. That if someone thinks you're like mentally not in a good position, people think that other people will make fun of them. I was the same. I never opened up about it with so many people. It was just my immediate family and a couple of friends who knew what I was going through, because I was just scared of everyone else. And I was thinking, what if they take advantage of me? What if they do this? What if they do that? What if they make fun of me? And that's how a lot of people are. So I know how much it took for me to actually step out of that and actually start writing what I feel about. And this is a step ahead of it. Like this is like the next step, which I never thought I'll ever be able to do it, because it's not just my life. There are a lot of people linked to me, and whatever I went through has a lot of people involved as well. So for me to actually make up my mind to start talking about my experiences is a bit hard, because like at one point you should know where to draw a line, right? Like you cannot say anything and everything. Like at least I cannot open up about each and every single thing that has happened to me in my life. Like we all have things that we cannot talk about. So for me it was more like, where do I draw the line? What do I talk about? Like who do I talk about? What if so and so attacks me? What if like it triggers someone else? So I had lots and lots of thoughts going on in my mind. But after a very long thought process, and sitting by myself, and then discussing with my husband, discussing with my brother, and then finally they also pushed me, and they felt like I can do this. And when I got that support, I was like, okay, let me start working on what I actually have to, speak. What are the topics that might be relatable to a lot of people, especially for the Desi households, for the brown households, because our culture is very different to the Western culture, right? So there's no good or bad. It's just it is so different. The way you are born and brought up is so different to a country that you're living in. So for me, jotting down all the points, thinking of what I need to speak, what I shouldn't be speaking, it was a long process, but I stuck to it, and I did my work. My brother and my husband helped me set up this little studio of mine, so I can, just be in this room, not worrying about who is watching me or what am I supposed to speak and stuff. So finally, here I am. You might be seeing this chair is empty here, but because that's my guest chair, I will be having quite a few guests on my show where we will be talking about, again, relatable content, a topic that everyone can relate to or everyone would have something to, add their points on. So when there is no guest, there is something else that will be sitting on this sofa, and I am just going to show you what it is. So that's my guest for my episode one. There's a blank canvas. So, before I start talking about any other topic, I just thought it would be nice to actually give an introduction about who I actually was, before I became who I actually am. So, I just thought I'll talk to and also talk about the person that I was previously. So, the topic for our episode one is, who was I? I have a lot of different shades of me, like stages of me. We are so different when we are in school. We are so different when we are in college or university. Then so different when we get a job. So we start maturing with age. Some people might not mature with age, but with experiences. So it's a very different take for everybody when you start asking who are you. So previously when someone would ask me who are you, I would just talk about, oh, I work here, I work there, this is what I do, this is my designation. And then I got told by someone that they're not asking me what I do, they're asking me who I am. And then I just figured out, a lot of us, when asked this question, we don't know how to answer, we don't know how to put it in words, who we are. So I just thought about it. And when I was going through depression, there was a time when I had to do a lot of self introspection to actually figure out who I am at that stage. Now that's a past tense because I'm not that person anymore. But at that point, when I did a lot of introspection, I realized a lot of my personality traits, a lot of the things that are happening today or that have happened with me, with my personality, are because of all the childhood experiences that I've had. And you as a child, the characteristics that you have as a child matters so much when you're growing up. And at later stages in life, the traumas that you experience as a child, the things that get told to you, which just it stays in your heart. Not everything can be forgotten with age. Sometimes the things that have been told to you, someone mocked at you, someone laughed at you, someone said something very mean to you, it just stays with you forever, for so long, that you always think that that is what you are. Their version of you is who you are rather than who you actually are. So if I have to talk about my early stages of, like, how I was as a kid, I was a very, I can say, like a template kid. You know how a society expects someone to be? That's exactly how I was. I was like the complete template kid who would say yes and follow anything and everything that everybody said. Like, I would never question anyone back, right? Like, I would just say yes to anything and everything people asked me. I was also everyone's favorite at that point. I remember a lot of stories that my parents keep telling me that, I used to always smile, always laugh. I was very polite. Everyone used to love me. Also because I was making sure that I say yes to anyone and everyone. That was also a reason why people used to like me so much. And I was very innocent. Like I would just believe whatever people tell me. Like I wouldn't even question. Like if so and so is saying so and so to me, that means they have to be right. Now I know that's not the right way. But back then, I think most of us are like that. School and stuff, I was a very likable, lovable student. I was a lot of teachers used to like me. I was very disciplined. I was very good with my studies. I was a very studious kid. I would get good grades all the time. I would do all my homework, do all my projects. Like there used to be hardly any complaint against me. Like I can't even remember my parents coming to my school or my teachers complaining that I've failed in a subject or scored less or anything. Like I don't remember any of those things. I think I also was feeling like everyone is a friend. Anyone who talks to me in a nice way is a friend. Like I would like until recent years, I never understood what sarcasm actually is. Like, if people are really saying nice things about me, or are they saying all this just for the sake of it and making fun of me, right? So that's how I was. I would just believe anything and everything that people would say. I'm like, oh, they say that they really like me, they really like my dress or whatever. Only like now, if I think back, I know that half of it probably they were just making fun of me. Like, so that's how I was. Like, I would never be able to differentiate how, if a person is saying the truth or if they're being like really sarcastic. I think I was trusting very, very easily without a doubt. Like, I know a lot of people have taken advantage of that quality of mine. Again, when I sit back and introspect and remember all the incidents from my childhood, I can now say that a lot of people took advantage of it because I would trust them easily, right? And I was also like ready to help them all the time. Anyone asks anything, I would just go and help them. I wouldn't even bother. Like, even if that means I pause whatever I am doing, like, I think that personality trait of mine still continues. If not as bad as it was before, it still continues. Like, if someone says something, I'm just going to pause whatever I'm doing and I end up helping them in whatever way I can. It has reduced now. Like, I'm trying to, focus more on what I actually want to do and started like saying no to things. But previously, I could never say no. Like, you just don't know how to say no. How do you say no? If you say no, that person will feel bad. You're not supposed to make anyone feel bad because, other people's feelings are like more important than your own. That's how most of us are. It's not like it's just my story. I know so many people who would listen to this, they would agree that this is exactly how probably even you were when, you were a kid. And it was my high school time, and my high school days honestly were very traumatic. I don't have like many good memories. Um, Especially with my 10th grade and then my 11th and 12th. I have very, very bad memories. Like now, when I reflect back on those things, I know that I was being bullied a lot. I had a lot of mental and verbal abuse. And trust me, I had no idea what these words even meant. I had never even heard of these words. We used to use a term called ragging. But like now I know how to differentiate what was ragging and what was like bullying. And I know that I was being bullied. And I know that I was being verbally abused. And also mentally abused. Like it was torturous. So throughout my school journey, I've always been, like, as I said, a bright student, and I've always been like a distinction holder, except for my 11th and 12th, which for some reason I thought I'm going to fail. I'm going to make my parents feel so let down, bad. Everyone are going to make fun of them. This is what my thought process was because I was going through so much at that time. I just was not able to concentrate on my studies like at all. Whether I go to school, whether I go to my tuitions, whether I go to my different classes, like it was just torturous. Not even knowing what I was going through, not even having anyone with whom I can go and share that, okay, this is what I'm actually going through. I need your help. Or like I didn't even know, like, I couldn't go to my parents and tell them that this is what is happening. They were going through their own struggles back then. It was a very difficult kind of like a high school and like that early college life. And over a period of time, I realized how much I have tolerated. Like, I can't even imagine. I don't think I can do it anymore. Like, I cannot tolerate the kind of disrespect, the kind of um like especially the verbal abuse that I have taken back then. I was so helpless. All I would do is just cry. There wasn't a corner in my room where I haven't sat down and cried. Like, if this is my room, I would, I was sitting at that corner one day, this corner one day, on the bed one day, like just next to the bed, in the bathroom. I would just cry, cry, cry. I go to school, I go to my tuition, I come back and I cry. I used to write my diary back then. Like every day, I used to write what all is happening and stuff because I had to figure out a way where I can just put my thoughts, like whatever I'm going through, that I have to get it out in some way, right? Like I can't speak to anyone, so the only thing that I can do is write my diary. So even now, if I go back and if I open that diary, there are a lot of pages where probably when when I'm writing, my tears are dropping on the paper, and when that the paper comes in contact with like a water, kind of makes that crumbly sound. So that's how my diaries are. Even now, if I go and turn the pages, I can I can see that I was crying when I was writing those whatever I was writing. So frustrated at one point that I was just doing, like, I was like, why am I even on this earth? Everybody seems to have a problem with me, right? Like, that's literally how I was feeling. That's literally how people were making me feel, that I am the problem, even when I was not. I clearly was not, but I somehow convinced myself that I am not even fit to, even live a life. And I have done a lot of self harm during that period because I cannot take my frustration out on anyone. Like, I didn't have the guts to say anything back. I was not standing up for myself. If someone says anything to me, I would just listen to it and then come back home and cry and like not give anything back. And I pretty much, I was the same up until, like probably the last 2 years. I was literally the same. And because I was so frustrated that I'm not giving anything back, I'm having everything within me, and me being an overthinker also, because I had, like, it was not something that I was doing before, right? I started developing that pattern of overthinking because I would like throughout my night, I would think, oh my God, tomorrow when I go, what new rumor would they have spread about me? What would they come and attack me for? What would they say? What did I do today that will make them, make fun of me tomorrow? Like, I would just sit and go back and think, 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 think. And that's how the pattern actually started. Until date, I struggle with it a lot. I'm a huge overthinker. Sometimes my gut feeling, actually, I can't even say sometimes, most of the times, my gut feeling does um like prove to be true, because probably because I'm so used to overthinking, I think of so many scenarios which is just not required. I can just give it back to people, forget the like whatever happened and move on, but it's just not that easy. Like, it's not easy to unlearn 34 years of what you have learned, like in a matter of months or days. It will take years for me to unlearn one by one and then work on myself, become like the best version of myself. It's a work in progress. It will not happen overnight, and it shouldn't happen overnight, because if it happens, it only means you're faking your feelings. It is not possible at all. Like like so many years of going through so many things, and then all of a sudden next day you get up and you're like, oh no, this is how I am going to be. No, you're trying to put up an act of, like, to be a person that you are not. So anyway, going back to what we were discussing. So yeah, that's how I was. The next stage of my life was my uni days, my university days. I did my bachelor's in computers. With my university days, they were so much better than my high school and my college days, right? Like, um, I enjoyed to whatever capacity I could back then, and I was doing like a little better than how I was, because Like it didn't happen overnight. Of course, I had to work on myself, and just slowly build myself up and think of the positive things that might, happen with me in my university days. And also, a lot of people who were in my batch were like new people, like who I didn't know, and I was great with studies once I moved to university. My focus was back, like throughout my 6 semesters. I passed all my semesters with distinction. At a point, I even, like, I think I scored a 99 out of 100 in mathematics. Like, not even in my life I would have imagined I can score a 99 out of 100 in mathematics, and as well computers as well. And I was the topper in 1 or 2 semesters, and finally I stood second to my college. I was back with studies. I was back with my game, and that was like a really good thing that happened. But the other good things, what I can say, yeah, I had a lot of my creative side come out when I was in my college days. Like, I didn't know I could arrange events. I didn't know I could, like, do like a group choreography. I didn't know I could choreograph a fashion show. I didn't know I could start editing. I started learning editing. I was sitting with my brother, and, like, he would teach me, do this, do this, do this, and then I used to learn, and then, edit all the music for my dance or the fashion show. With all these new things that you explore, right? Like, you need to speak to a lot of people. You need to engage with a lot of people when you're in a creative field. And that's when I realized, even with all these experiences, even at that point, I realized I'm not someone who can confront another person and, like, ask them to not treat me in a bad way. I was still the same. Like, I would be like all happy that this, and then the moment someone puts me down, that's it. I cannot stand up for myself again. Even after all those years, I couldn't stand up for myself. And I realized that regardless of any experience I have, I probably am a person like that who it doesn't come to me naturally, right? Like, I really have to lose my patience until the last drop. And only then I can explode, and, I can just shout at a person or say whatever it is. Otherwise, I cannot. I was just not able to do it. I was being ridiculed a lot for my looks, my dressing style. Like, I had zero fashion sense. I agree. I don't, like, there are no second thoughts about it. I didn't know how to dress up, right? Like, I was just wearing my Indian salwar kameez. That's the most that I was wearing, like, all the time. And then I would wear my denim and top very rarely. It was not even like I would wear it every day and stuff like that. And, like, I didn't know how to like, dress to impress. I really, really didn't know. And I feel like I struggle with that till date. Like, you tell me, this fabric goes only with this fabric, this color only goes with this color, you can't wear this color in the night, you can't wear this color in the dark. I don't understand any of those things, and I'm very honest about it. Like, my fashion sense was zero. Now it has gotten so much better, but it's still not up to the mark. And I didn't even know, like, makeup or any, like, I wouldn't do anything. Forget about makeup. I was not even the one who would do any skincare. I was so bad with like, all of those things. If my mom would get something ready for me, like saying that I've done this hair mask, I'm going to apply it, then I'm like, yeah, you want to apply, then only I'll sit. I'm not doing any work on myself. Like, I don't know, I was very ignorant about skincare, hair care, or whatever it is, like even good food. Like, I would just crib for everything. I would hardly eat my vegetables. So the good kid that I was growing up in my initial, like, years, I was very easy to handle. I was easy to handle throughout, but then after a point, I was like, I don't want to eat this. I don't want to do anything to my skin. Like, I became so withdrawn from everything. I just wanted to just be in my room. I didn't even have a phone back then. I think I got my phone only during second year of my university. Yeah, for my 20th birthday. That's when I got my first phone. I just had the landline phone. And the 90s kids, like in India, you know how it is when you just have a landline phone and you have your family in front of whom you have to receive your phone call, and you can't even speak anything. You just like, it's like a one-way conversation. So I didn't have anything much, but I just like to be on my own, just alone, just leave me alone. Like I was not interested in anything because of, again, with a lot of experiences, incidents that you have gone through, you just feel like you don't need anybody. Um, just leave me alone. I just need peace of mind. Like you just hear so many things day in, day out. People are making fun of you. Like there are relatives who make fun of you. They just put you down in front of everyone, like nasty things to you. Uh, I didn't even grow like a thick skin. Like I was a very, very sensitive kid, and I'm still a very sensitive person. Like I get hurt like this. Like even till date I get hurt like this. Some things just don't, like I'm not concerned, but there are some things, especially with people who are very close to my heart, then it's very easy for me to get hurt. I'm working on it, but again, as I said, it's a work in progress, right? Like you can't unlearn so many things that you have learned throughout your life. So yeah, so those were my university days. So 3 years somehow passed with all these things going on, and during my last semester, I was preparing for my entrance exams for my MCA, for my masters in computers, and then I was also applying for a lot of jobs. I finally got a job in Wipro Technologies, and I remember I was very worried. So I got to know about my selection and everything, and then I got an email, right? Like, so I remember me and Appa was sitting in front of the system computer, and as soon as the email dropped in about joining dates and stuff, we didn't even read the email. We just opened the attachment, and we were like, "Where is my training?" And it said it's in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So I am from the state of Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu is our neighboring state. In India, pretty much every state has its own language. And I speak Kannada at home. And in Tamil Nadu, the language that they speak is Tamil, which I didn't know. I was so freaked out when I first read that email, and I remember me and Appa were just looking at each other, and then Amma came, and then she was over, Ellie placement, Ellie placement. Like, placement is later. First is the training, and I have to go to Chennai. I have to move to Tamil Nadu. And just she was shocked because the thing is, it's nothing to do with the place. It's just that first of all, I've never been out of my house. I've always lived 20 years of my life. I lived with my parents, right? And then you all of a sudden have to move out of the house to a state where you don't even know the language. Of course, people, like, you can speak in English and stuff, but back in the day, it was really, really hard. And there was no Google Translator. There was no, forget about Google Translator. There was no smartphone, or I didn't even know there was a Google Translator that you can use. I didn't even have a smartphone, first of all, to start with. Um, I didn't know the language. I didn't know how I would even survive. I was not even someone who was used to do a lot of things at home, right? Like in India, no one even asks their kids to do things. Like they're like, you leave it, I'll do it. When we actually went to Chennai, so back then, because there was like no Google, we didn't have like access to all these things where we could actually go book our accommodation or whatever, wherever we are going to stay. You couldn't do any of it. So we had to go there and figure out what we are going to do, right? So me, Appa, Amma, and my brother, we went there, and I did my orientation and everything, and we came back. We had 3 days before I report to my day one of my training. So in those 3 days, we looked for a paying guest accommodation where I would stay, and it was like I think around 3-4 kilometers from my office. So they had this amazing thing of a shared auto. I just loved it, and you pay 5 rupees, and then you could go to your workplace. So we looked for something that is not too far also. And then I met another girl there from Bangalore, and we both became roommates in this new PG. But the thing is, you couldn't cook your own food, so you have to like eat whatever that PG auntie gives you. So that was like one of the initial struggles, and I slowly started learning a lot of skills when I was on my own. Of course, when you're out of your house, you discover a lot of things about yourself, what you can do, what you can't do, because you don't have that dependability, right? Like you can't say, "Oh, Amma is going to do this. Oh, Appa is going to do this." You have to do it on your own. So I started becoming a lot more independent, and I was really like kind of enjoying my time with my colleagues over there. We had amazing time. It didn't even feel like a workplace because all of us had just finished our bachelor's and all of us had come there for training. It was like, okay, university is done. This is like a post graduation thing. Only thing is you get paid a little to do that. But we used to have a lot of fun, and I had a lot of friends from Chennai who would teach me a few words in Tamil, and we would teach them Kannada. Like, you teach me this, I'll teach you this, and we were learning, and we were having a lot of fun in the workplace. But again, for me to step out of my PG and then go out anywhere, that was another um a scary thing for me. Like I would be like, oh my god, what if someone calls my father and says that your daughter is roaming around with your friends on the streets? As if every Tom, Dick, and Harry in Chennai knows me, knows my father, knows their number, and they're going to call. And I was very scared to ask Appa also, like, can I go here? Can I go there? I think one or two times when I asked, it was closer to my, like, I had one of, like, training exams that I had to take, and then he didn't agree for me to actually go out. So I stopped asking. And I was just happy to be in the PG, and I would just go out if I need to buy some snacks or stuff. I would just go out then. Started traveling alone when I have to go back to Mysore, back to Karnataka to meet my parents. I think it happened only twice in those 6 months of training, but I still was able to do an interstate travel alone in the night, which I had never done before. I had never traveled alone before, right? I've always traveled with my parents, never alone. I was a very protected kid that way. So discovering that traveling alone and being aware of your surroundings, making sure you are safe. So it was initially it felt difficult, but then after a period of time I was like, okay, even within Tamil Nadu also I would catch a bus and I would go. I had learned like a few words, and I could manage Tamil and English like broken Tamil, and I could manage a few things. I would just like Anna, like go, you have to go there, like you have to go here, uncle go there, uncle go here. Like I would somehow manage, and I would travel. What actually kind of didn't work for me back then is probably the food. Not that you don't get good food over there, it's just that because we had to depend on our PG auntie for the food, and she would just, in a week, only on Sundays, we would have a different dish. Otherwise, it would be the same two dishes throughout Monday to Saturday. Like, and because of the heat also in Chennai, and because you're outside roaming around and things like that, I had tanned so much and I had lost nearly 5 to 6 kilos. I think when I moved back from Tamil Nadu to Mysore, like into Karnataka, I think I was about 40 or 41 kilos. Like I was like a stick and I was like not at all looking healthy. And that was probably the only thing that went wrong over there. Like some of my best memories are from my training days. Like we went to this theme park experience. Why I'm talking about this is like for a person who had never lived without her parents, for her to first time experience a lot of these new emotions, these new things was a great deal back then. I remember we went to this theme park in Chennai. So it got late in the night and we were like a group of 15 people, I guess. That was the first time I ever, like in the middle of the night, waiting at a bus stop for the bus to arrive so we can all go back to our, PGs and our hostels. And the bus didn't arrive for the longest time. We are all sitting on the floor, like in the bus stop, just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally the bus arrived. So in my PG, after 10 o'clock, there was no entry. Um, and I was like really like I was the only one from my PG. Rest everyone were from different PGs. So I, for the first time, sneaked into my friend's PG. We actually jumped the wall. I had never done this in my life. Like, even while doing that, I was so scared. What if we get caught? It's not like we were doing anything wrong or illegal, but it's when you're not used to all these things, right? It just scares the hell out of you. And we had to climb the wall, go sneakily, and then with our roommates inside, had to like slowly come open the door, and then we used to sneak in, go into the room, sleep there, and before the warden wakes up the next day, we had to take a shower, get ready, and get out of that PG so that she doesn't notice that some two or three girls just walked into the PG and slept with our girls. Once that phase was done, I moved back to Bangalore, and I worked there for an year or so. Living in Bangalore was like living with a known crowd. So after a point, it kind of became not so healthy for me. My health had a lot of ups and downs when I was there because of um the stress around a lot of things happening, around you. And I hadn't healed from a lot of my past trauma, which I mentioned about my school, those 3 years. So because of all those mental pressure, I had a lot of ups and downs with my health. Started developing this thing, like anyone who, like, I was going into a shell, right? And anyone who expresses that they like me would scare me to an extent where I would just like literally block them from my life. Like, all I had to do was just tell them that I don't like them and just move on. But for me, I was just so scared, and I just didn't like this feeling of anyone liking me because I was not liking myself. Like, I was not liking myself as a person. So if someone says they like me, like, just like I was just blocking them out of my life, which probably was not a good thing to do. And I know that I have hurt people in it during this phase of mine. But like overall, if I have to say, that was my mindset. Like myself, like, what kind of a person am I? Why is this person liking me? I don't like that person because he's liking me. So I am going to block him. I'm going to say no, right? So that I had become that person. And the inability to stand up for myself was also taking over, because when you're in a working atmosphere, it's so different to when you're with your schoolmates, college mates, with your friends. Um, with my work, that's what I was experiencing. First of all, I was on bench for so long, like I didn't even have a project. I had to go to work, clock in, clock out, and not do anything. For me, I was thinking that people will think that I'm useless. That's why I'm not even getting a project. Again, at that phase, it was more like what other people think of me would matter so much to me. I would just sit there, think, overthink, that I always used to do, and just make it so hard for myself. I feel like I had literally become like so, in within me, I was feeling I've become so useless and unwanted. Like, no one wants to be with you, no one wants to do this. And at the same time, I was also cutting people off because I don't know, there's something within me that was not happy. As I said, my health was going up and down. I used to have so many migraine attacks. Like, my migraine was at its peak during that time because of the stress, and then, like, a lot of family dramas, personal things, like a lot of feelings. You are not a person who is an extrovert and who has someone to talk to. Like, I didn't have like a role model figure to whom I could go and talk. I didn't have like an elder sister to go and talk to. um so I was just keeping everything within myself, and I was just probably dying within myself. And I kind of feel like a lot of people will relate to this. I think it was just too much for me to take it in, and I would sometimes feel like my brain would just blast with the amount of thoughts that were going inside me. I remember, because of all these, I had so many migraine attacks while I was at work, right? Like, we were having lunch one day, and I just collapsed like this on the table. I remember that. I don't know what happened for a few minutes after that, but then I got told that my friends who were sitting with me, they just took me to the medical clinic which was there at the campus, and my BP had like dropped so low when the doctor checked, and I had like the blackout thing because of my migraine attack. And then there was a time when, so my office was, I think, in second or third floor something. The lift was occupied, so I took stairs to just come to the ground floor. And I remember I just I had that blackout phase and I had that migraine attack, and I slipped and I fell from the stairs. Like I just rolled, and I fell. Like it was not like I became conscious, but for those few seconds when I used to have that migraine attacks, it would just like I it was just a blackout. Like I don't know how to explain, but it was just a blackout, and I would just collapse wherever I was. Um, I remember that happened, and at one point, I was in my PG still. My roommates had already left, so I had locked the door from inside. So I was awake when they were there. I think I had a shower, I was getting ready, and for some reason I felt like I'm going to have an attack. I'm just going to lie down. I don't want to fall. So I think I lied down. I exactly cannot remember how this happened, but somehow I've had an attack and then I don't have consciousness, right? My colleagues and friends are trying to call me for so long. I have not answered. I think my report time was at 8 o'clock. I had to go to work at 8 o'clock every day, and it was almost 10 o'clock or 10:30. And because I didn't have a project, I was not in a team at that time. So luckily, um, it was not a big issue with the workspace. But then my colleagues and my friends were really worried what's happening with me, because I'm neither answering my phone, I'm not at work. So they came to my PG, and I think it was just the timing. By the time they could come upstairs and knock or something like that. So I can't remember exactly, but I remember I fell from the bed. I don't know why I fell from the bed, but I fell from the bed, and that's when I felt like, oh, what? Like I kind of felt like, okay, I just fell. And then I'm looking around, and then I look at my phone. I have so many missed calls, so many messages. And then I called my friend. I'm like, what happened? And he was like, where are you? What has happened to you? And then my other roommate, she was like, she was already in a project, I think, and she had to leave that and she had to come. And it's not easy to like travel. It's so far. Then I slowly got up, like gained my conscious completely, and then my friends had come to pick me up. And then I went with them to work. And I remember I was just sitting there silently, just looking outside the window when we were going the car, because I didn't know what had happened. So multiple times when this happened, then I informed my parents, and then when we went and we got it all checked, they said some like a nervous system thing has become like really fragile and weak, and you have to take care, and all those thing. So that was a very difficult phase for me after I moved to Bangalore. There were a few good moments, but there were a lot of not so good moments. So overall, if I have to say to sum up who was I actually, I was very shy, um, someone who was not standing up for themselves, very low self-esteem, low confidence, zero fashion sense, no guts, couldn't stand up for myself, very scared all the time, cannot, confront anyone, cannot give it back to people, cannot understand sarcasm. The reason I'm saying all these is because someone who's watching this or listening to this feels like, who are these people? Do they even exist? Which era is she talking about? Yes, a lot of people exist. Girls from the 90s, middle class families, I am pretty sure there are a lot of them who would connect with whatever I'm saying. I was a frog in the well. Like I didn't know anything outside of it. Right? Like even inside the well also there were so many things which I had no access to. I was a very protected child. So for that frog to jump out of the well and literally land in a new continent, it's not even like a different city or a state. It's a whole new continent. Um, it was a life changing experience for me when I moved from India to Australia after I got married. So I'm going to talk about it in my next episode. But um, like for those of you who have listened until the end and who felt like really connected, and if you think this is what you also went through, if not all of it, like some of the things that I've gone through or the kind of personality that I have, if you feel like you were the same, let me know in the comments, right? Like I would love to know who you were before and what led you to become who you are now. So that is something that I would love to know. And I wanted to create this safe space first by talking about who I was, what my journey is, and who I am. And that way, the more people connect with me, the more they can open up. And I just I want to have my little community where everyone feels safe to express what they want, to say their experiences, to 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 understand themselves better, to introspect themselves better, to understand why they are the way they are. Everything has a pattern. That is one of the biggest lessons I have learned in my life. When I did my introspection right from my childhood till the till date, like there is a pattern. I was feeling for the longest time that I'm a victim of a lot of things. It's only after I started introspecting that I realized I have my own demons, right? I have hurt people. It's not like I'm sitting here and saying, oh, everyone did me wrong. Like everyone said, wrong things to me. In the process, I've realized I have done the same to them as well. But why I did whatever I did was something that I had to understand. And I had to understand that um, I'm not a victim in all situations. I have to understand that where my role was, what my flaw was, what I did wrong, what is it that I can do better, what is it that I can learn from all this. So that was a very big learning process for me. And through this podcast and through my episodes in the future, that's exactly what I aim to do, to create that safe space so I can just speak my heart out. It's like I'm just chatting to a friend, and that's what I'm doing now. This camera right now is my friend. There's no one in the room, and I can just say whatever I want. I mean, of course, not whatever I want, but yeah, anything that relates to the topic. So, thank you so much for listening to me up until here. So, I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It truly means a lot to me to know that there are supportive listeners out there who appreciate the sharing of relatable thoughts and experiences. If you liked and related to what you listened to today, let me know in the comments. And also, please support by following, rating, and sharing the podcast on Spotify and YouTube. The related links are all in the description. Let's have a chat again next week. Until then, please make sure to take care of yourself so you can take care of others.